So hey Wendy.
Hi, James.
I don't know why that was so formal. Oh man, yeah. So welcome to the game of the year, 2022. Oh wow. I don't know if we want to get into the last 2 hours of what we were
The
doing
work
here.
that goes behind people who do streaming professionally as well as podcast professionally is a lot, and we've learned that in the last 2 hours. We thought we were better than last year and we learned from last year, but the last 2 hours taught us differently.
Yeah, it really did. I don't know.
But
What
either
else?
way, we're going to put that to bed. That's now last year. It's gone. It's past. We're now going to dive straight into looking at what has happened in 2022 of games.
Yes, best games of the year. Yes, thank you for summarising up the last 2 hours of this hellish nightmare. It's funny how one thing leads you down a rabbit hole, and at one stage I wasn't even going to do this. But on a serious note though, one thing I will say that there may be some feedback and echoing in our microphones because we haven't got a screen between us, so
That's gonna be
I'm
next
actually
year.
go through each other. But regardless of that, we can jump into best games 2022. I've played some amazing games. You've played some amazing cozy games. Cozy games being your forte. Well, I'm big on I don't know, pretty much everything
Dark
and anything. Dark games, strategy games. I'd say mainly that,
Turn-based games.
Oh yeah. Turn-based fiend. But I suppose we can get in to the guts of it. I think it's better off if I go through my list. I've written this entire list on my Medium, where I write about the best games of the year, and I mainly do it in 3 tiers. So I got like the top 3 games, because there's so many games, there's so many stuff to play. I mean, can you remember somebody's 7th best game that they played, last year or 2 years ago? So it's better to just get the top 3 right at the top. I think that's probably like the best way to go about it. And then I have it's normally the top 3 games are from 2022. Normally what I do, not just this year, but every year I always do the top 3 from that year. But then I include a bonus one. Yeah. So the bonus one could be from any year. And it just happened to be a game that you played from the past or a different year. But when I say that now, technically the game in the number 3 spot definitely did not. It definitely didn't come out this year, but it kind of should have.
It peaked at this year.
Let's say that. Yeah, it definitely peaked. It had its anniversary edition this year. Technically, people could argue that maybe that the game was supposed to release in this kind of a state, as opposed to a year ago.
I would agree to that. I actually would, and I feel like it's still not even ready yet compared to its predecessors.
Arguably not, but I would say, well, not even an argument. I would say yes, it's not.
It's not.
It's just definitely not. So. Without further ado, my number 3 spot this year, and I hate to do this, I hate to do it, but it has to be done because I've over 100 hours in the thing, but it has to be done.
Why do you hate to do it?
Because in a sense, it's age 4. I should have a sound effect going off, like confetti and stuff like that, but it's age 4, game 3. In a sense, I don't really want... I love Age of Empires. But I hate it too.
Age of Empires is the games that we default to when we don't know what we want to play, other than obviously our favorite dwarfs in all of the galaxy. So
in Deep Rock.
Deep Rock.
I mean, Deep Rock is the main.
I was gonna call it Deep Dive, and I was like, James, help me out here.
No, it's Deep Rock Galactic. Don't worry.
But so H2 has always been a classic. There's so much content. Even on YouTube, that's the main thing that we actually watch on YouTube is probably T90 talking about H2 and all the Red Bull. We watched all those matches. But H4, it was released last year, just before Christmas, didn't it?
Yeah, that's right. It came out in October, the end of October, just before Halloween, in fact. Yeah,
So when that came out, I was definitely hesitant. I was like, I don't know. Like, it looks amazing. I don't know if it's gonna hold up. And then, of course, when we have played it since, like, we got it into like January 2022 up to now, it just keeps building, but it's still just not there on the classic of the age two like the satisfaction of that game of age two. Age four doesn't have it yet.
I
Like,
agree.
it's just something still missing.
It's almost a classic, is how I like to kind of say it. It's kind of, it's almost there, but not really. It's kind of missing. I think in for the most part, it plays it maybe too safe to the classic formula. Maybe. Now, argument you could argue and say that, but they changed up the entire civilizations in it, and each civ is different to each other, like completely different, and they all play entirely different compared to Age 2.
I think, and I've only just kind of put it into like my own words just now. I think it's missing the humor and the nostalgic factor. So in Age 2, obviously, you have all the mods, and there's literally a Christmas event on, and we literally have just gone through this where like we're now able to turn the deer into reindeers, and I love it. But it's something that like Age 4 doesn't have mods. It doesn't have that that personality in it, like having your knights be penguins riding polar bears. It doesn't have that yet in Age 4. And I think it's that humor that stops people from doing like look at like, you know, anything that Team 90 does, like the Legend of the Wall. Like there's none of those sort of like ridiculous tactics yet on Age 4, which I think maybe that's why like it's still playing safe. It's still a good game. It's still cozy and everything, but it's definitely still missing, I think, that personality to make it its own game.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, because it doesn't have. I think it's taken itself too seriously in a sense. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and it should kind of, because the campaign is like a very historical.
Yeah.
And the campaign is honestly the best thing about that game, and I will scream that from the mountains. The campaign is amazing, and it's kind of presented in this sort of like documentary style sort of videos, where before and after the video it goes to, say, if you're playing in like the French campaign, it'll go to Paris and it'll go to those locations and kind of like set the scene with all these kind of like cool line art animations.
Yeah.
And I really love that. But then whenever you finish a mission or whatever mission you're doing, it has this really cool sort of introspective into a specific type of history, or if you're in like a campaign that deals with, or just after finishing a mission with like loads of horses and stuff.
Horses, yeah.
Yeah, then it'll show you like how they made armor for horses, how they bred the horses, what kind of horses they used, what cavalry archers, and how cavalry archers would have trained, and how they would have used bows. And it has similar stuff like that. If you do a mission with like a castle, it'll actually do this documentary style in real world style documentaries, like a Netflix style documentary. Now, in saying that, they're like 3 or 4 minutes, but it gives you such an insight into, for instance, how bows were created and how they made bows for arrows, which you think, oh, that's an easy process, but back then it absolutely wasn't, and they had to make millions of arrows for soldiers to use, and you don't think of things like that. But they had an introspective into how they created each bow, each arrow, like what tools they'd use. They'd go to a blacksmith, and you'd have fletchers, and you'd have arrowsmiths to make the heads and stuff, and then how they would supply those. And this is conveyed in real life, by the way. That has like a presenter as well. And it's not just done in engine or anything like that and talked about. It actually shows you. It's like a full-blown like BBC documentary. It's amazing. Well, I say full-blown as in production value, not length. It's not 60 minutes, like, but it is like 3 or 4 minutes. It's like a YouTube snippet.
In fairness,
really,
I would probably pay, because I've seen. So I haven't done the campaign yet on Age 4 because I just haven't been in that mood, I think, because I've always just played the multiplayer as Age 4. Even on Age 2, I never really played the campaigns, but we did play some, and it is fun.
Yeah.
I think that, like, that's one of my favorite things about wanting to play the campaigns, is to unlock those videos, because I've seen them, and they're really cool. I think, though, I still will always default to Age 2 first, but in saying so, I'm waiting for Age 4 to reach that same level as Age 2, because it's kind of I can't put you against each other because you're not there yet.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's true. It's just because now the reason I say this is because that when it launched last year, and that's why it's on the list this year, is because when it did have its anniversary, the 1 year edition there, about 2 months ago, it launched with a ton of features that, this is where the argument comes from, should have been in the base game.
Yeah.
Like when it launched, we love to play skirmish together. It was missing so many things. Like this is in regards to the balancing and how like weirdly balanced some of the soldiers were, and like how a lot of the kind of pathfinding and technical stuff was kind of there. And it wasn't buggy or it wasn't crashing, but this is irregardless of the balancing. But it was missing certain modes. It was missing simple things like King of the Hill, like Regicide, Nomad, Mega Random. It was missing all of these staples that we would have used in the past as well. They are like series staples, and they should have really launched with the game, and that's why it's disappointing. But over the year, they have had a slow trickle in. It's nice to kind of leave the game for about 3 or 4 months at a time and play it quarterly, and then when you come back, you're like, whoa, they've made a lot of small incremental changes over time that are like really stood out. So for that reason, I put it on the list, because I ended up coming back to this even over the last month and really
thinking about it,
getting in on it. And I think the best thing about the game is the campaign, but the worst, not the worst thing, but they have a huge focus on the online play, and I know that's where things are now in the industry and stuff like that, but at the same time, for people who like the old heads, you know what I mean? Old heads who don't like to play online.
I have enough anxiety as it is without having to try and stress about playing on like online as well. Like when we did the footage for for Age 4 and we played a game against each other, it was a case that that was fine. Like I don't mind playing against each other. I hate it in H2 because I know I'm going to get decimated. H4 we played once and it was a stalemate.
The game went on for 2 hours and we had to call it a draw because we were so even. But that was only possible because we played Age 2. Because we played H2 was so old that when we had played it, that we played at different times in our life for different amount of time, but because of H4 was so new, we were able to like train at the same time. And I actually, thanks Wendy, Wendy's signaling, kicking me under the table to play the footage.
I'm like, you gotta play the footage. I even said and the footage we recorded, I was
I didn't even I was too busy thinking about the best and worst of this thing. Didn't even get into the fact that we have footage recorded.
In fairness though, the amount of footage I have, more so for H2 and even H4 that I just haven't edited because I'm just not there yet. Like I'm mentally just not ready. And I'm not playing online for H4 because H2 I've never done it. And I hate everything is very centered around H4 online, and I'm I ain't got time for this.
And you can tell it's very centered around the online because it was the same way as other online games you see whenever they get updated bi-weekly or sometimes even weekly. It's all balancing and it's all like patches for balancing and exploits and stuff, and it's like I would rather they introduce new modes.
It's not even about like those balancings. It's all the challenges, like the earning points or whatever events. The events, that's the word. All the events are for online. They have 3 maybe for between clan skirmishers, but it's all online.
That is true. That's also a huge disappointment. I think that's the main disappointment about the great thing about them constantly updating is that they do update small incremental updates to the gameplay and making it more efficient, or even things like control groups and pathing and just small things, just making it a little bit better. But when they do try and push the events, I think the events are too early for what they're trying to accomplish. Do you know what I mean? In a sense, when I say too early, I mean they haven't got the content to push behind, because Age 2 has had obviously a 20-year sort of lead-in time to this, and they're able to create really cool skins you can get new skins for farms, you can get new skins for knights,
it's all the mods
skins for archers, all the mods. But the official mods that they give away in the events for age 2 or age 4, sorry, are just not there. They're different banners for online play, and who if you don't play online, then
what's the point? Now, I will say, after going on a stream of probably about 10 minutes of dissing this game, the positives about this game are aesthetically beautiful. Like the mechanism of showing how things are built, the way that, like, you know, they do like unleash siege units and move them and like build them, and you're able to see that in the game. Like, it's so aesthetically beautiful. Like, obviously, yeah, you're used to seeing like the little like shirtless villagers, as T90 always calls out, on like the
great
maps.
YouTube
But
channel.
like being able to see the buildings and the movements and like even like the sacred sites, it's so aesthetically nice.
I do enjoy the sacred sites. I think that's a great introduction to the gameplay, because that's taken straight out of the Relic, the developers. That's taken straight out of the Relic handbook, because they used to have sites like that in other RTS games that they've made. Like, I remember playing Dawn of War back in the early 2000s, and they had those exact same sites when they were developing games back then, so they still have that staple in there, and I think it does work really well for age 4. But I don't know, I still think that it's perhaps plays the gameplay a little, it's hard to describe, because they have stuck to the roots of it really well, and the gameplay is excellent, and even the readability of the game is great. Units are simple, weapons are larger to see, it's easy to see, even despite the graphics being like really good graphics, in-depth, nice shadows, nice textures and details on all different like environmental aspects and like bushes and trees and stuff, but it's still a simple color palette for units. It's easy to identify units, and that is very important.
The biggest update that I was happy they gave was that I could now choose my team color. That zooming out, that wasn't there, and I could zoom out better, but also the fact that I could still now pick my color. I hated the fact that I was always ending up in like a random color. I am a legit just always yellow color whenever it comes to playing, to the point that it even confuses you when I don't end up going yellow on age 2. It's like, what is this? Who are you?
If you're not yellow, I don't know who you are. I just don't know who you are. It's like, it's your default color. And even it took a lot of crying matches. There was a lot of screaming matches when we didn't know how to get the yellow, even though they had updated the colors. We had to go into the settings. There was a crying match, but we got it in the end.
Who was crying? You?
Me.
No, it wasn't really, because obviously it wasn't straightforward. When I went onto it, it was kind of a, what do you mean? Like, oh, I can now be yellow. No, I don't see that. Like, where is this? Because like you had to go into a setting to activate it to then go into a game to like turn it on, like to select it. Because I think even the first time when I did select yellow, because I didn't know I had to do a background setting, it ended up being that I came out and I wasn't yellow, and I was like, but I selected yellow, how am I not yellow? And then we had to leave. You insisted on leaving the game and coming back into it, and I was like, no, let's just play the game. If we started it, let's just play it.
Yeah, you're right, and
But
it just turned out that it was set to
it was a
team
setting,
colours
a setting I
default.
had to go and do, which was just like, how are you going to know that? I don't read every patch note detailed. I just knew that it was going to be able to do colors.
It should have defaulted to colors instead of team colors, so that means everybody's going to be blue and then the enemy is going to be red. It just, it didn't make sense. But with that being said, that little deep dive, the best bits, we'll get to the best bits of the game summarized. So the campaign has just phenomenal production value. It's just incredibly made, really good. There's the documentary style documentaries. The documentary style videos are perfect. They're like a nice kind of like succinct, to the point video. Really perfect for snippets of like history. Absolutely, like it's outstanding in any other RTS game I played. And I love RTSs. I've played loads, but I've never seen this level of production quality from this game, and it's brilliant. And it's because it's such high production is why we'll probably never see another campaign expansion. I don't think we'll ever see that.
Sad times.
I hope I'm proven wrong, but because there's so much moving pieces.
We'll do the 5th year anniversary.
Come back in 5 years, it'll be the bonus game.
4 years.
So there's solid gameplay at its core. It stays true to the series roots. That I will commend them on, because it's why the series is so good and it's so great. Like, it's because the gameplay is solid. It's gorgeous graphics, brings it into a modern era, and skirmish again. Tons of fun with friends. We can't get enough. That the skirmish in Age 2 is replayable to an nth degree. I mean, I could probably play that for the rest of my life, like, you know, without in its current state. It's just perfect. And we don't even play Regicide or King of the Hill that often even more. We just play standard and just mega random it. Like, even though there's about 200 maps that you could play and so many different, there's dozens of different options that you could do. We just play the same thing, but it's so fun because there's so many different civs, so many different like difficulty settings. There's so much randomness to it. It's just brilliant. And another really cool thing is that it's brilliant the way the civs all play asymmetrically, and they're all independent of each other. Like, you know, Holy Roman Empire plays different to the Ottomans, who plays different to the Chinese. Like, you know, Chinese are like good at trade and at, like, you know, stone walls and stuff like that, you know, and like the British are really good at like with longbows and archery and like towers and farming and stuff like that. So it's really cool how like they're all really good at individual things, and each civ does have a bonus in Age 2, but they're not as pronounced as Age 4. They will specifically play different. You have to build different buildings and stuff. A cool thing as well, a nice added feature, is that you can build a building instead of upgrading in your town centre to age up, and I think that's an excellent change. Frees up villagers. You can still create villagers. The game is faster, I think, because of that.
It also varies how you play depending on what buildings you're selecting for your age up. Like, obviously in the Chinese is the only one I think you can try and get all your buildings, because it moves through different like eras or dynasties. I think is the correct like term for it. But like, you know, like for the Mongols, like depending on how you play, like you can either like in your first age up is like pick a trade element, or like I think a gold element, I think it is. So like it depending on what you select gives that variety, and I think that's why Age 4 is still there for me in 2022, but it's still not going to take over Age 2, but it's still there, and I'm waiting for them to get there so I can start comparing the two better, because it's like comparing siblings. Like this, you can't compare siblings, versus Age 1 and Age 3, like there's no question. That's like an aunt and uncle. It's like you don't even go here. I've never even I think I played them once when I was a kid, and I've never played them since. It's Age 2 or nothing, and now it's Age 2 or the younger sibling of Age 4. It's like, oh hi.
I agree. That's a perfect way to put them. I think that they can't be compared. Even though we've spent the last 20 minutes comparing them, but I think that's just comparing the different styles. We're not like saying one is worse than the other, one's better than the other. It's just we prefer to play one over the other. They're so different, and Age 4 absolutely deserves its own space and its own it deserves its own spotlight, you know, because it is excellent.
Age 2 is the cozy comfort. I know what I'm doing, and I can just do whatever I want in this. You can either like lash out like 100 skirmishers and not even like bother doing anything with gold units, or you can go crazy and do scout rushes, or you can do loads of weird things. Age 4 is the more like, okay, I want to like be strategic. Like, how do I want to play this? How do I actually want to think about it? You know, like it's a little more logical thinking, I think, right now, because like there is so much difference as it is.
Yeah, that's a great point. God, it was just I really want to play Age 4 now.
later.
Yeah, we'll get on it later. Now the down parts to it, like the downer side, like I suppose you could say it plays a little too safe, I guess, gameplay wise. Like there's nothing really new or innovative in the RTS, considering it's a very modern title. I think it sticks too close to playing it safe and playing it like the Age 2 gameplay, as opposed to a brand new kind of like take on things. Whether that would work out or not is a different question, but for me, just a little too safe outside of the asymmetrical style civilizations. And the campaigns are a bit short. that's another thing, because the production value on them is so high.
Yeah.
Like, and they're incredibly produced, and the scenarios in them are amazing, and the set pieces are brilliant. They're just a little bit too short.
Yeah.
And I would love to see new campaigns, but as I explained earlier, I don't think we will see new campaigns in that, because it's not like Age 2 where you can just create a new campaign in the game. For
Yeah.
Age 4, you would have to create the extras. You'd have to go out and film in certain countries. You have to create the motion graphics animations for it. You have to create the docu-style things that come with it. There's so much extra things that come with it because the production is so
I think
high.
that's the thing. The production has put them at we expect this for every campaign going forward now to educate us, because that's kind of the selling point of the campaigns, I feel. Versus H2, it's like, oh, we released another 3 campaigns. There you go, and they have like 5 chapters in each of them, and you're like, cool, okay.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, that's true. So I would like to see more campaigns for each of the civs. The game launched with 4 campaigns, with 9 civilizations, and that's not even half of the civs accounted for.
I want mods.
You want mods. I want mods as well. I want to be able to reskin horses, reskin armies, reskin I want them to reskin farms, have the little pumpkin patches on the farms. I want all of that.
I have that like set like permanent as my farms. Like when I don't see a pumpkin patch on my farm, I'm like, all right, what did I do? Was there an update? There was an update here. Like, what did I do? And I didn't even realize it. But yeah, I think my big thing is I want mods just to like add that personality onto it, I think.
Me as well. If I was to ask if you would come back this time next year, and if they were to say what's the one thing you would like this time next year in Age 4 to be updated, I would say worthwhile mods, being able to reskin and stuff like that, units. It just keeps the game fresh. It adds on just an extra layer to keep coming back to if you have different skinned units and stuff. It's kind of fun, like to unlock new skins and like change them and stuff like that.
Yeah, because that's why like the main reason we like I guess started back, but also why whenever we log on to Age 2, it's mostly for events, for mods. Like that's like every second one is like a picture or something. Couldn't really care. But you give me a mod that gives me a penguin riding a polar bear as a knight, I'm there. I think we were late going to that one, and we were doing it at midnight. I think you logged in for me to get it because I was at work and I was not going to get home in time for it because I was in office that day, and I was freaking out, and I had to give you my sign in. So you did it in your house on your computer on my login just to make sure I got that penguin.
That's how dedicated we are.
We wanted it.
We are in the skin game, baby.
I'm waiting for the classic car, like the car one, to come back.
The cheats?
Yeah,
that's in it.
Like, no, but there's an actual mod, not just the cheat of the car, because there's a cheat for the penguin. Remember, we did that one.
Yes, oh yeah.
But there's a mod for like having the car as our knights or something.
Oh, okay,
that's what the blue car, I'm pretty much sure is. There is a cheat for cars as well, or something.
Right,
but I think that's an actual mod.
See what I mean? The skin game is alive and kicking in Age 2.
Like, there you go. We just need that in Age 4, and I think Age 4 could... I still want them to zoom out more, actually, on Age 4. I'll be absolutely on it. I need a better zoom. I'm saying this now. If anyone knows anyone in Age 4, please give me a zoom. I can't see enough of where my people are.
Yeah, that's true. Age 2 does have an incredible zoom out to be able to see and select everything. Yeah, that is a good point. And they did update the zoom, but
Not enough.
Not enough. But yeah, I think another downside to the game, while we're still on the downsides, the game launched at €60, full price AAA game, and it was in a beta state. Like that was disappointing. And would I say it's worth it even if the campaign was like stellar? Probably not. I don't think RTSs nowadays can justify having a price tag that high. I just think that's very high in the market.
Someone who doesn't pay full price for a lot of games, because I always look for a bargain.
No.
Look for a bargain.
Same.
I think we got this on sale, but like
you got it on sale.
Yeah, because I think you got it for me for like a present first on sale. Because I had it on the Xbox, and then we got it on the actual
Game Pass.
when I had it on Game Pass for free, and then I got rid of Game Pass. But for the fact of like I was going on it to play just skirmish, not even online, just skirmish, like with you on LAN, I'd pay maybe 35 to 40 for it. I wouldn't pay over 40 for like a skirmish game, because
€40 I think is in around the price point.
And that's more so because of nostalgic, that I'm like, oh, let's play it. Like, I'm not actually paying for that. But like, it's hard. It's hard to put a price on like obviously people's hard work, and I understand why it is that price. For me personally, I think for what I use the game for, I wouldn't pay over 40.
Yeah,
but
I
it's
think
a
that's
great
pretty
game.
fair. Yeah.
It's still a great game. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, 60 was very rough. Like, straight away, it was an ouch. It was an ouch moment. I was like, I'm not that dedicated to age to want to buy a new one when age 2 was my baby.
Yeah, I agree.
The favorite child.
Yeah. And then, honestly, just to summarize all of these, it sounds like we're downing on it, but it's not. Honestly, it's just little
Highly
small
recommend.
things.
Highly recommend.
Yeah, I do highly recommend.
That's why
the
it's
game.
number 3.
Yeah, and to say, it's like it's just missing features that hold it back from being a truly. It's a solid RTS, but it's just missing features that
stands with age 2.
Yeah, that kind of like are true to the series' roots.
Yeah.
And it just plays it a little too safe for that. It needs to just be a little bit more. But it is hella fun, and I'm sure we'll be playing it very soon. There's a reason it made it to number 3. And yeah, age 4.
Yeah, that's age 4.
Oh,
Age 4 was number 3.
Yeah.
Insane So, number 2.